Man in the Van is back live on YouTube tonight. 4th of July edition. At least on here, I can smoke cigars and not get restricted. Like on TikTok all the fucking time, which is absolute bullshit. And then we bash their policies, and yet they don't say anything about that, which is quite friggin' hilarious. So, last time I did one of these, I kind of discussed mostly like NFL, Justin Fields, and all that stuff. But I mean, for those who listen to the audio version of my podcast, you know how I feel about the Bronny James stuff. You know, like, there's people coming at me and E-Man, my co-host of Cigar and Sports, saying that we are, we're kind of attacking the kid's dream in a way. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. We're not ones to bash somebody's dream about playing in the NBA or the NHL, Major League Baseball, because they have God-given talents that we weren't gifted with, or just for whatever reason, we just kind of stopped playing the game. Like for me, playing baseball, I stopped after a while because, like in high school, it became so much bullshit with like. I understand grades are important, but like when you're carrying the minimum grade point average they want you to, and then the coach is still playing bullshit games with you, at that point, it's just ridiculous as you hear the fireworks going off. My neighbor is a fucking lunatic, apparently, I guess, as I'm getting hit with shit on top of all that, which is fucking lovely. But to me, I just feel if the Lakers are serious about winning, right? If the Lakers are serious about winning an NBA championship within the next 2 years, you don't waste a 55th pick on LeBron's kid. And then not only that, what 55th round pick has ever got paid $8 million guaranteed? You don't see that. Last year's 55th pick in the second round got a two-way deal, which is he could go from the G League to the NBA. And he was getting $750,000 before tax. And now you're paying Bronny James Jr. $8 million guaranteed, and most of that's going to be spent in the G League. I mean, at some point he will come up. I highly doubt he's going to be on the main roster come the start of the new year. But I just don't agree with this draft pick. Listen, it's all well and good that he got drafted, but think of how many other people got drafted, like that should have been drafted above him. I mean, he couldn't handle the pressure at USC, and you could give me the hard issue and all that, and I'll take that into account. But me personally, it was a waste of a pick. He's a raw project that needs at least 3-4 years to develop in the NBA. And like LeBron coming out and JJ Redick and Rob Lowe Jr., who's Rob Pelinka, the GM of the Lakers, all this kid's ready for the NBA. He wasn't ready for USC, but he's ready for the NBA, which there's more pressure than anything. That's hilarious to me. But the thing that annoys me is like when me and E-Man are discussing it, and you have these grown adults coming into the comment section, and they're like, "Oh, you two are bashing this kid's dream." It's like, listen, when we do a show, listen to what we're saying. Like, listen to the words, because again, we said this was like we're not bashing Bronny. He's just a victim of circumstance. He's like the stray bullet in a drive-by that unfortunately hit somebody, and unfortunately he's getting hit by stray bullets. But the strong arming by LeBron's agent, oh well, if you draft him, then he's gonna go play in Australia. Listen, he's not gonna go play in Australia. I honestly think, again, if this kid wants to join the league, then let the team who wants to draft him. And part of this drafting Bronny to the Lakers was to keep LeBron from leaving. And, because now he just signed a 2-year, like $105 million max extension that he could sign. So you're telling me with this roster, the Lakers are really a championship team? There's a reason why Klay Thompson did not come to LA, because right now it is a friggin' circus out there. That's why he took less. He took less to go to Dallas. And why? Dallas right now, other than the Knicks, the Celtics, have a pretty complete roster that can win now. Like, you look at the Knicks, finally the Mikal Bridges trade was finalized today because there was one player holding it up because he didn't want to be part of the deal. He didn't want to play in Brooklyn. So it got finalized earlier today. And you look at the Knicks team, and you got these guys like a WFAN, like the Salicatas and Brandon Tierney's of the world. Well, now that you lost Harstein to Oklahoma, you lost your shot at winning a championship, which to me is bullshit because you're forgetting all the other guys that are on this roster. Like, you're forgetting Mitch Robinson's going to come back healthy, and I understand he's an injury issue. You have Jericho Sims as a backup at the 5. You have, right now, they still have Julius Randle as part of the plan according to projected lineups and as far as complete rosters right now. But me and E-Man discussed it earlier on TikTok Live that he put out there that I hopped on with him, just to shoot the shit and bullshit. And we both agree. Like, Julius Randle's going to be packaged and sent somewhere to, either acquire draft picks that they lost or bring in another superstar caliber player to do it. Like, you look around the league, the Bulls can't even get rid of Zach LaVine, and they're attaching a first-round draft pick to a guy that's worth a third-round draft pick. If the NBA draft even had a third round, he would be worth a third-round draft pick. Like, I forget how the NBA draft works. I'm sure they got more than 2 rounds. They just televised the 2 rounds this year. And a buddy of mine actually asked me before we get into the rest of the NBA, he was like, do you think the NBA maybe encouraged all this with Bronny Jr. and the Lakers, and it's kind of coerced to where it kind of, boosts revenue and it boosts ratings? Absolutely. And listen, they got to, listen, every sports organization has to do what's best for them. And the NBA is one of those, like Major League Baseball, it doesn't really promote well. Like, the NFL promotes itself. And that's why the NFL is the biggest sport that there is in America. I understand a lot of people love soccer. I understand, but like the NBA, a lot of people don't watch because, let's call it what it is. Like, I got spoiled watching the good era of basketball. And younger kids today like this style of basketball. Chuck it from the logo, soft fouls, And you know what? That's all well and good, but for me personally, like if the NBA and the Lakers and LeBron and all these people were in cahoots to make this happen, you think about it from this point of view. Let's say to begin the year, Bronny Jr. is on the roster, just to fill a spot. You know how many people are going to watch to see if this kid plays? Like, everybody, including myself, I'm guilty of it. I will watch to see if this kid is going to play at least 5 minutes, and let's see how he plays. Because if he plays like a dog out there and is, putting up points in 5 minutes, let's say in 5 minutes puts up like 8 to 12 points, let's just say, okay, people are going to say, okay, maybe he's ready for the NBA. But again, that's the smallest sample size. Like, USC was a small sample size. Like, he was putting up like 4.5 points. And I understand he had the heart issue, and even before the heart issue, he was projected 17 to the Hawks in the first round. And I think even that's a fucking reach. I think that's a reach personally for me. And it's one of those, again, I just don't think it was the smart move. If I was Bronny Jr., I would have went to a smaller school. I would have built up my brand better. I would have built myself up as a more complete player and not just be a raw project. He kind of reminds me, honestly, and I know it's a movie for old heads out there like me and E-Man, Blue Chips. Shaq's character was a raw project. Like that's what Bronny Jr. is. Like, he was afforded everything to train with the best, trainers out there and ball around with guys that are in the league. But again, that's not his fault. That's the luxury he has of who his father is. And don't get me wrong, his dad is one of the best to ever do it, but he's not one of the, you know, he could be your generation's greatest of all time. But my generation of all time is goat wise is and always will be Michael Jordan. That's just this is how it is. And part of this is another way for LeBron to say, "Oh well, look what I did. Like look what I did. I get to play with my son. Did Jordan never get to do that?" It's kind of like a petty move in a way, but whatever on that front. Um, but like going back to the Bulls can't get rid of anybody. Like the Bulls trade Caruso for Josh Giddey, who was involved in that whole did he sleep with the minor, did he not sleep with the minor? And that was kind of the camel that broke the straw's back with DeMar Rosen. Not only that, the Bulls don't want to take on contracts. So one report I saw is that Sacramento's looking into him, but they want to do it as a sign and trade. But they don't want, but Chicago's trying to get money off the books. Because ever since the 90s, the Bulls have been fucked. Let's call it what it is. But I feel the only way they can get rid of Zach LaVine, you're going to have to overgive. Like, you're going to have to give up at least 3 first-round draft picks to get rid of Zach LaVine if you want anybody to take him. And I don't know why they can't get rid of him, because I personally feel Zach LaVine is a talented player. I think he's good offensively. Defensively, it's wishy-washy to me. But I personally feel, like, because a buddy of mine who's also a Bulls fan, he goes, well, where would we send Zach LaVine? I'm going to be honest with you right now. You could put him in Indy. You could put him in Orlando. You could put him with Milwaukee, and then have Giannis, Dame, and Zach LaVine together. Philly is out because they signed Paul George, which that one, there was a thing out there on Twitter earlier. Who would win in a 7-game series right now? Dallas or Philly? And everybody's like, "Oh, Philly, easy." Wrong, because Embiid's going to be hurt. I mean, out of the almost 10 seasons he's played, he's maybe played a full season once, maybe twice, because he's been hurt every other time. Like, every time he has an MVP type year, some freak injury happens. And I was telling the Sixer fan earlier today, I said, if you guys don't win at least one chip in 4 years with Paul George re-signing Maxey to the huge max extension and having Embiid, you windows close like the Lakers is closed. Like Golden State, Klay Thompson left because he was miserable. Like, you paid the wrong guys. Like, you paid Jordan Poole. They were dumb to give Draymond the extension. And I'm just sitting here, and now you're stuck with Draymond. You're stuck with, and I don't get it. And then, like, when they ask Draymond how he feels about Klay Thompson leaving, he's like, I don't know how to feel. No, you should know how to feel, and you should say, I was a selfish fuck, and I shouldn't be on this team, and they should have never kept me, but, I am the reason why Klay Thompson isn't here. I hate to be the bearer of bad news on that one, but again, these are my opinions. This is how I feel about it. I for one, like, because my buddy's a Laker fan, so he's like, well, why didn't Klay sign with the Lakers? They offered him more money. I'll tell you why. Because right now the Lakers are they're a fucking circus act right now. I mean, it's the inmates run the asylum. It's whatever LeBron says. Jeannie Buss has no control of this team, and that's why he up and left Miami, because we all remember when he wanted Spoelstra fired, when they were slumping to start the whole Big Three, and he's like, oh, this ain't working. We got to fire Spoelstra, and Pat Riley's like, no, we don't do that shit around here. Like, no, I built this roster. You play with what's constructed, and this is the coach. Like, I got questioned on it because a few months ago, maybe, when I did one of the audios, I said that this generation's Phil Jackson is Eric Spoelstra. And they're like, yeah, but he doesn't have the championships that Phil Jackson has. No, but he's got the knowledge. Like, these guys will run through a wall for Eric Spoelstra. Like, I'm sorry, in LA, are these guys going to run through a wall for JJ Redick? Because JJ Redick, I'm not knocking the guy for getting a coaching job, but LA is not the spot. Like, there's a reason why people were pissed that Aaron Boone got the Yankee job. Because Aaron Boone went from a broadcast booth to managing one of the most historic baseball teams in Major League Baseball history. And it's the same thing with the Lakers. Like, after the Celtics, they have the most championships in the NBA. And they're definitely a historical franchise. But I just feel that's not the right fit for JJ. Like Cleveland, like going to a team that's building to be a team on the rise is somewhere where you should have started. Like, JJ should have went to Detroit. He could have went to Phoenix. He could have went to, whatever. And that's the other thing. Phoenix now don't even want Kevin Durant no more. So, like, you have new ownership in Phoenix that doesn't know what they're doing. You traded all your depth away. So you traded your Cam Johnsons away. Your Mikal Bridges of the world. You traded all that away for Durant, thinking you were going to win a title. You traded DeAndre Ayton away to Portland. And what's happened since? You've been maybe a sub 500 team that gets in and then it's one and done. Like if there was any year for Phoenix to win an NBA title, it was when they went up against Giannis. And I think that is when Giannis proved, honestly, that you don't need a big three to win. Because he said, fuck a big three, it's the big me. All right? But, again, it's... Man, this guy's fireworks is going to fucking hit somebody's house. I can't wait for it. But I just feel personally like JJ should have went to one of those teams. He could have went to Brooklyn. But again, it's LeBron's buddy. They do a podcast. And again, it's all, well, he was the best fit. Bullshit. Because you could have had Bickerstaff as your coach. You could have had a plethora of coaches. You could have got Monty Williams, who was unfairly fired in Detroit. Like, you didn't give this guy anything to win with. Okay? Phoenix, unceremoniously, ownership change. Monty Williams was the guy who coached that team to an NBA Finals, and you get rid of him. You could add Monty Williams in LA, but I'll tell you why you don't have a Monty Williams. I can tell you why you don't have a Bickerstaff. I can tell you why you don't have a Tom Thibodeau type coach. Why? Simple. Because LeBron can control JJ Redick and use him as the scapegoat when this doesn't work out. When this doesn't work out and the Lakers don't win another championship this year or next year, LeBron's going to find a way to say, well, it's his fault. It's his fault. But they're constructing the team around you and what your input is. Like, how many times has LeBron done this where he gets guys on a team that he wants and gets rid of guys that they should have kept? I mean, it's just the way LeBron does things. But I think personally, between my own show, Steel and Teal, which I think we are recording Saturday. We should be, I think. Cigar and Sports, we will be taking at least a 2-week break. E-Man's on vacation, but we might do TikTok lives here and there together. Who knows how that plays out. But between those shows, I think we've discussed LeBron enough, Bronny enough. I think everybody's done hearing about it. It just is what it is. Like, listen, it happened. It is what it is. Nothing we say is going to change it. Our voice doesn't matter to the NBA. So I got to get into the state of the Yankees. Because for the past couple of days, I'm like, listen, it's all right to have this slump now. Because you don't want to go through the slump at the end of August, September, during the playoff push. But getting swept by a subpar Cincinnati Red team is, to me, that's where now Cashman has to take action. Cashman's got to make moves now. Like, if you call up Spencer Jones now, I'm fine with it. When Dominguez is fully healthy, bring him up. I mean, for any Yankee fan that watched last night's game and you're looking at the starting lineup, J.D. Davis is playing first. LeMahieu's playing third. Like, I get you could put LeMahieu throughout the whole infield. Like, I get all that, but you're putting J.D. Davis at first base? And it wasn't until Ben Rice came in the game was when finally they're producing hits. Like I see Yankees fans, we shouldn't have traded for Soto. We shouldn't have traded for Verdugo. First of all, Verdugo filled a hole we didn't have last year because left field was by committee. This year, at least, we have Verdugo. And, a buddy I've known forever was like, we got to trade for Vladimir Guerrero. I don't know if we can get Vladimir Guerrero. Would I love to have him on this team? Absolutely, but do I think he's going to come to New York? You listen. First off, you're doing business with another AL East team, and we don't know what Cashman would be willing to give up and what what Toronto's willing to take in return. I mean, they DFA'd Gavin Biggio already. From what I'm reading, Bo Bichette might be on the market. I think if we strike out on Vladdy, we go after Bo Bichette. I mean, Vladdy would be good because he plays first and he hits for power. Bo Bichette, you could put him at second base and maybe ship Gleyber to Toronto, and then it's his last year of his contract anyway, and then let Toronto worry about it, whether they want to pay him or let him test free agency. I mean, you want to talk about something that should be studied is the decline of Gleyber Torres, because when he came up, he was good. Like, he was hitting, he was producing. In the past 2 years, he's hurt his own value. Like, if he wants to stay in the Bronx, he's literally got to take, like, the cheapest deal out there. Like, even cheaper than going to a rub and tug and, like, negotiating for a fucking blowjob. Because you're not producing, and I'm sure Brent at 1420 Sports could agree with it. I'm actually curious about his insight of what's going on with the Yankees and what he feels should be done. Because he's a he's a diehard like me, and also I think his position with the Lethbridge Bulls up in Canada, which is like a minor league baseball team or whatever it is, it's kind of like the Long Island Ducks out here. I wonder what he would do if he was GM of the Yankees. Like to be honest, like what are moves that Brent would make? Because for me personally, like to play armchair GM, which a lot of us do. We listen. We do it in every sport, especially when it's draft time or trade deadline time. So I would try to trade for Vladdy Guerrero, but they're gonna want Spencer Jones. Like any team, any person we try to go after, they're gonna want Spencer Jones attached. And we know how that killed us a few years ago when we could have got Garrett Cole from the Pirates. The Pirates wanted Clint Frazier, and Cashman was like, "No, I like this kid." And look how that panned out. Didn't pan out well for Clint Frazier in the Bronx. So, granted, we wound up getting Garrett Cole, but it was a few years later and for a lot of money. But, I think at this point, I don't think anybody should be off the table. Like, I don't think anybody should, I think it's whatever you could give up, give up. George did it a lot back in the day, and that's what kind of killed the farm system. And Cashman replenished it, and I get all that, and I'll give him his due for that. But I feel honestly, they have to start producing more. I mean, you're wasting the prime years of Judge, who is on an MVP tear this year. And for all the Yankee fans out there complaining, we're paying this guy so much money. Look at him. He's on pace to hit 60 home runs this year. Me personally, because me and Jay were talking about during the game last night, I said personally, if he keeps up this streak, he's going to hit 65. Like, he'll break his own record. And, I mean, if you look at 22's numbers and look at 24 right now, his batting average is higher, his OPS is higher, his RBI total's higher, and his home run total's higher. So, I mean, barring any significant injury, if Judge keeps up the pace that he's at, granted, I know the past 2 days he hasn't hit one out, but he right now, if the season ended today, he'd be the MVP. I mean, because who else would you give it to? I mean, what are you going to give it to? Fucking Grimace in Queens? For when the Mets went on their little tear and now they're kind of back to earth a little bit. But like trades that I would make, I would try to get Jonathan India out of Cincinnati, especially if Cincinnati is in a position where they're not in a playoff situation and they rather be sellers than buyers, I would try to do that. You probably have to give up maybe like a double A player or two for that. Uh, Vladimir Guerrero. There's a reason why. There's a reason why Vladdy changed his stance on wanting to come to New York because he knows that LA can't pay him because they got money tied into Betts, Kershaw, half their pitching staff, Otani, even though three-quarters of Otani's deal is deferred. Um, but they got a ton of money tied into that. Boston's not willing to spend any money. So it really comes down to the Yankees. The Mets, I don't think would do it because I think they'll try to lock up Pete Alonso long term. And my buddy asked, well, what if we went after Alonso? I wouldn't be mad at it, but I just don't see. I mean, in the world of fantasy, I can see it happening, but in the world of reality, I just don't see them letting Alonso go. That's like in the Yankee community Twitter group that I'm in. Even though I rarely interact because I rarely look at the posts. Somebody goes, what if we traded for Francisco Alvarez at the Mets? Because obviously Trevino behind the plate. Listen, he could call a good game, he could catch a good game, but he can't throw worth a shit. And I just feel the Mets wouldn't trade Alvarez. Like, Alvarez is part of their plan. Like, there's a reason why they let McCann walk. There's a reason why they let Thomas Nido go. Alvarez is their guy at catcher for the next at least 10 years. Could I see something where the Yankees maybe ship Glaber to Queens with some double-A prospects to get Pete Alonso? I could see that. I mean, you still need a legitimate third baseman. But then the issue comes into play. If you make these deals, you have to pay Soto. You have to pay Verdugo. And then whoever you trade for, you're not just going to trade him as a rental. You're going to trade him and hope that he wants to stay here. So I feel personally, if for those who know me, if you really want the brutally honest truth on the Yankees right now, if they go into this trade deadline and do nothing, then Cashman and Hal are accepting of mediocrity, and their outlook is what'll be will be, and that's that, and that's how you'll lose Gerrit Cole, and that's how eventually, Verdugo won't stay, Soto will go elsewhere, and then we're just plain fucked. Plain fucked at that point. I don't know. Like, at this point, I'm sure Brent could agree, the leash on Cashman has to be very short. Very short at this point. Like, I think if I understand they just gave him an extension, I think at the end of last year or the year before. But I feel you have to do away with him and bring in like a Theo Epstein type guy. I mean, because look at what Theo did with the Red Sox, and then look at what Theo did with the Cubs. I mean, if the Cubs didn't sign Theo Epstein to be their GM, they'd still have the longest drought of winning a World Series. The fact that the Yankees and the Cubs were able to do business, you traded Chapman to get Glaber in the deal and get Chapman back the following year. I always tell people there was a secret deal done behind the scenes where the Cubs knew Chapman wouldn't stay. This was a rental, and he was going to come back to the Bronx. And not only that, you just have to question the whole era of Cashman. I mean, 01 we blew it. 04 we blew it. And that's not Cashman's fault. That's just, like Red Sox came back. We were up 3-0. The Red Sox come back. The curse is broken. We all know that. But then after that, you don't win 1 to 09. And Yankees fans still using, like, when the Astros cheated to win and Boston cheated to win. Listen, the Yankees cheated too. Let's be honest. The difference is those two teams were better at it than the Yankees were. But I just think at this point, you got to do away. You've got to do away with Cashman. If this doesn't result in at least an ALCS appearance this year, granted, as a Yankee fan, I want us to win the whole thing, but I just feel if they don't win it all this year, and you lose Soto and you gave up a haul to get him. Verdugo doesn't stay, which I could see Verdugo staying, but he's going to command a decent amount of money. Soto, like like for the idiots at ESPN, like they're Major League Baseball analysts that are saying, they're projecting Soto would sign for 500 to 599, as far as million. He was offered that with the Nationals and turned it down because he doesn't want to be at one team for 13 years. And plus, they probably wanted a no trade in there, and he probably wanted a trade clause in there. San Diego, the same thing. They offered him a ton of years, a ton of money. He turned it down. I have a feeling he's probably only going to want to sign like an 8-9 year deal, and probably wants over 600 million. And I feel if Hal, who's come to the forefront and says they're not afraid to spend the money, prove it this year. Prove it at the end of this year. Regardless whether it's we make the playoffs and we lose in the first round, or we get to the ALCS and lose, or we get to the World Series and lose, doesn't matter. Prove it in the offseason. Prove that you're aggressive and you actually want to build a World Series winning team. And then you have the other problem, which does Garrett Cole opt out. Now, I think the injury to Cole plays dividends in this because, to be honest, it's kind of hard to predict what Cole would do because he could have a shitty season and still want to opt out and make the Yankees pay more. And I truthfully feel I wouldn't blame him if he opted out, to be quite honest with you, as I try to get this match lit. But I just feel if he opted out, I don't think he would get a lot of money on the market because of, at no fault of his own, but what could have almost been Tommy John surgery this year, and then being out till like mid-June. I feel, I feel his value's hurt because of that. And then you have Yankee fans out there. He comes back, and he doesn't pitch like the Garrett Cole of old. Well, not for none. The guy didn't have a spring training to open up to open himself up, and get himself ready for the regular season. He spent all of spring training injured. He couldn't throw. He couldn't throw up until mid-May. No, yeah, about mid-May is when he started doing his rehab assignments. So, he wasn't ready. And this is his spring training. So, and there's going to be restrictions on him, and one or two more outings, and I think he'll be back to himself. And then the Yankees fans saying, "Oh, we should trade him, we should cut him, we should this." You're wrong. You're wrong, and you're an idiot. It makes no sense to do that. Like, you're wrong, you're stupid, and you're a fucking moron. Because what are you going to get for a guy right now whose value is not high? You're not going to get much. What are you going to get for a guy who, if he doesn't opt out of the deal and goes to another team, they're going to be on the hook for all that money? Because no team's going to trade him when he has an opt-out. They're going to wait and see what he's looking for on the market. I think personally, in all honesty, I think he should just stay in the Bronx because he's not going to get much anywhere else. I mean, people are saying he could go back to Houston. They'd be willing to pay him. I think at this point, Houston wants to get younger in the rotation, and you see that with Verlander being hurt. With Justin Verlander being hurt now, I think he's hurt again. I'm not sure. I know he was hurt to start the year. But so now I gotta get more butane tomorrow. Fucking shit. But I feel Cole's best option is to stay in the Bronx. Plain and simple. I feel that's the right move. I could see teams going out there and wanting to pay him, but maybe not what he's getting paid now. But I think it all comes down to what Cashman does in the offseason. So I think you might see Garrett Cole wait. And there'll be Yankees fans out there who say, well, why is he waiting? Why is he waiting? I'll tell you why he's going to wait. Because he wants to see what this fucking Mets and Fanoke and friggin' Cashman does. Or is Cashman going to be the GM? Because, again, for Cashman to save his job, and I know Hal won't get rid of him, But in a world where Hal gets rid of him, if he has a lackluster trade deadline, that's it. But the problem is nobody wants. See, people used to love coming to New York because like they knew they were getting paid. Like they knew George was going to just, okay, this is what you want. Okay, this is what you get. Like George didn't care about luxury taxes. He didn't care about thresholds. He didn't give two shits. Like now you got Hal, who's completely different from his dad. Like I think if Hank didn't pass away, I think Hank would have been the guy that goes, well, you want to know what? This is what he wants. This is what he's going to get because we got to win, 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 win. I just feel that would have been the. I feel Hal would be a better owner than Hal is. Like with Hal, it's about how much can we save? How much can we save and still have the fan pay top dollar? It's like anything else. It's like anything else in life. If you put out a shit product, nobody's gonna pay. If you put out a like take the TV world. You put out a show that's good for the first 3 years, and then it starts getting shitty in season 4. How many people are gonna watch? Not many. And I feel with the Yankees, that's what's gonna happen. You keep putting this mediocre product out there where players have this mindset of, oh, I'll just do the bare minimum, and you have one guy showing emotion in Carlos Rodon, who, no matter how much he gets shelled, doesn't want to come out of a game. And I like that. I like that he doesn't want to get taken out of the game. He wants to fight through it. He wants to, he doesn't want to put it on anybody else. He feels like if I were to step into the mind of Rodon, he feels I'm the guy who fucked up. Let me be the guy who fixes it. And again, I like that mentality. And Garrett Cole's the same way. And we've seen that a couple of times with Garrett Cole. But, like, I always figured this would be the bounce back year for Carlos Rodon. And it kind of was to start. And now it's really kind of like it's iffy at best. Like, you have Yankee fans that trade Luis Gil. He was so good to start the year. Like you have to realize pitchers aren't going to have an amazing fifth day every time they go out there. They're just not. And you have to be knowledgeable to understand that. Not every pitcher goes out there and has a great fifth day. Like the Scherzers of the world don't. The Jacob deGroms don't. The Kershaws don't. The whoever the fuck. You know what I mean? Like they don't always have great fifth days. It just is what it is. But it comes to a point though with how much accountability does Cashman take? I mean, we can't force him to take it, but eventually Hal's going to have to force him to take it. Like, listen, you're the guy who's making all the roster moves, and you felt this guy was good enough for us, and this guy was good, and we traded all this away for Soto, and he's not staying. Like a buddy of mine even told me, he goes, we should trade Soto at the deadline and try to recoup what we gave up. You're not going to do that. I was like, they're not going to do that for one. And two, in all honesty, you're not going to recoup what you gave up for Soto. You're not going to do it. You're not going to do that at all. But, I figured I'd pop on YouTube Live for a little bit. So, for those who are watching, thank you. For those who will watch this, thank you. The comment section's always open. If you agree, disagree, just don't be one of those fucking trolls that just you only want your viewpoint put out there and like you can't accept what somebody else says to you in return. Like I like to have a healthy debate, not one where I have to, like take your insults and then educate you and then insult you back. Like I believe that most of us who like sports are grown ass adults and we could discuss it like adults. So thank you to everybody who keeps supporting. Make sure you listen to past episodes of Fan in the Van. There'll be a new one out probably Tuesday because I go back to work Monday. Monday I got to catch up on everything. So I've been on vacation for like a week and a half. So I have to catch up on a lot of stuff Monday. So Tuesday I'll probably be back doing that. This Saturday should be another recording of Steel and Teal. And then after that I don't know because some weekends I'm going to be working another job here and there. So I don't know how much content will come out at that point, but we'll just play it as it goes. But thank you to everybody who supports, follows, listens, retweets. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. For all past videos, make sure you check them out as well. And new videos will be coming out as well. Also, follow me on Rumble, Fan in the Van, on there as well. I have some content up on there as well. So, to the next one, peace.